Chapter 18. Mr. By-Ends. So I saw that quickly after they left the fair they overtook one who was ahead of them, whose name was By-Ends. They said to him, "What country are you from, sir, and how far do you intend to go this way?" He told them that he came from the town of Fair Speech, and he was going to the Celestial City, but he did not tell them his name. "From Fair Speech," Christian exclaimed. "Are there any godly people living there?" "Yes," said By-Ends, "I certainly hope so." "Please, sir, what may I call you?" Christian said. By-Ends. "I am a stranger to you, and you to me. If you are going this way, I shall be glad to have your company, but if not, I must be content to travel alone." "This town of Fair Speech," Christian said, "I have heard of, as I remember they say that it is a wealthy place." By-Ends. "Yes, I will assure you that it is, and I have many very rich kindred there." Christian. "Who are your kindred there, if I may be so bold to ask?" By-Ends. "Almost the whole town, in particular my Lord Turnabout, my Lord Time-Server, my Lord Fair-Speech, from whose ancestors that town first took its name, also Mr. Smooth-Man, Mr. Facing-Both-Ways, and Mr. Anything. The parson of our parish, Mr. Two-Tongues, is my mother's own brother. To tell you the truth, I have become a gentleman of good quality. My great-grandfather was but a waterman, looking one way and rowing another, and I got most of my estate by the same occupation." Christian. "Are you a married man?" By-Ends. "Yes, my wife is a very virtuous woman, and the daughter of a virtuous woman. She was my Lady Faining's daughter, therefore she came from a very honorable family. She has arrived to such a height of good breeding that she knows how to behave towards all kinds of people, whether prince or peasant. It is true that we somewhat differ in religion from those of the stricter sort, but only in two small points. First, we never strive against wind and tide. Secondly, we are always most zealous when religion goes in silver slippers. We love to walk with religion in the street, if the sun shines and the people applaud it." Then Christian stepped a little aside to his fellow hopeful, saying, "I am thinking that this is Mr. By-Ends from the town of Fair Speech, and if so, we have as bad a knave in our company as dwells in all these parts." Then Hopeful replied, "Ask him again. I think he should not be ashamed of his own name." So Christian came up to By-Ends again and said, "Sir, you talk as if one could serve both God and Mammon at the same time. I think I know who you are. Is not your name Mr. By-Ends of the town of Fair Speech?" By-Ends. "This is not my name, but it indeed is a nickname that is given to me by some who do not like me. I must be content to bear it as a reproach, as other good men have borne reproach before me." Christian. "But did you ever give an occasion for men to call you by this name?" By-Ends. "Never, never. The worst that I ever did was that I always had the wisdom to go along with the current ways of the times, whatever they were. I was always lucky enough to prosper thereby, but if the malicious cast such reproachful names upon me, then let me count them a blessing." Christian. "I thought indeed that you were the By-Ends that I have heard of, and I think that this name belongs more properly to you than you are willing to admit." By-Ends. "Well, if you thus think so, I cannot help that. I am sure that you shall find me to be a good companion, if you agree to take me along with you." Christian. "If you will come with us, then you must go against the wind and tide, which I perceive is against your desires. You must also own religion when in his rags, as well as when in his silver slippers. You must stand with him, too, when he is bound in iron chains, as well as when he walks the streets with applause." By-Ends. "You will not be my judge, nor impose your views upon me. Allow me to do as I think best, and let me go with you." Christian. "You shall not go a step further with us unless you intend to do as we proposed." Then By-Ends retorted, "I shall never desert my old principles, since they are both harmless and profitable. If I may not go with you, then I must do as I did before you caught up with me, travel by myself, until I meet with someone who will be glad for my company." Now I saw in my dream that Christian and Hopeful forsook Mr. By-Ends and kept their distance ahead of him. Looking back, they saw three men following him. As they came up to him, he made a very low bow as he greeted them, and they gave him a compliment. The men's names were Mr. Hold the World, Mr. Money Love, and Mr. Save All. They all were men that Mr. By-Ends had formerly been acquainted with, for in their youth they were schoolfellows, and were taught by one Mr. Gripe Man, a schoolmaster in Lovegain, which is a market town in the country of Coveting in the north. This schoolmaster taught them the art of prospering, either by violence, deceit, flattery, lying, or by putting on a pretense of religion. These 4 gentlemen had attained much of the art of their master, so that each one of them could have run such a school themselves. Well, when they had thus greeted each other, Mr. Moneyloves said to Mr. By-ends, "Who are those 2 people on the road before us?" For Christian and Hopeful were yet within view. By-ends: "They are a couple of distant countrymen who, in their strange manner, are going on pilgrimage." Mr. Moneylove: "Alas! Why did they not wait that we might have had their good company? For we are all going on a pilgrimage." By-ends: "Indeed we are, but the men ahead of us are so rigid, and love their own notions so much, and so lightly esteem the opinions of others, that let a man be ever so godly, yet if he does not agree with them in all things, they will thrust him out of their company." Mr. Save-all: "That is bad. We read of some who are overly righteous, and such men's rigidness prevails with them to judge and condemn all others but themselves. Please tell me what and how many were the things wherein you differed from them." By-ends: "Why, after their headstrong manner, they conclude that it is their duty to push ahead on their journey in all weathers. But I am for waiting for more favorable winds and tides. They are for risking all for God at any moment. But I am in favor of taking all advantages to secure my life and estate. They are for clinging to their beliefs, even though all other men are against them. But I am for religion only so far as the times and my safety will bear it. They are for religion even when it is contemptible and in rags. But I am for religion only when it walks in golden slippers, in the sunshine, and with applause." Mr. Hold-the-World: "Exactly. Good Mr. By-ends. For my part, I count him to be a fool, who, having the liberty to keep what he has, shall be so unwise as to lose it. Let us be wise as serpents. It is best to make hay when the sun shines. You see how the bee lies still all winter, and bestirs itself only when it can have profit with pleasure. God sometimes sends rain, and sometimes sunshine. If they are such fools to go through the storm, yet let us be content to only travel in fair weather. For my part, the religion that I like the best allows us to have God's earthly blessings, for it is only reasonable that since God has bestowed upon us the good things of this life, that he would have us keep them for his sake. Abraham and Solomon grew rich in religion, and Job says that a good man shall lay up gold as dust. But we must never be as the men ahead of us, if they are as you have described them." Mr. Save-all: "I think that we are all agreed on this matter, and therefore we need no more discussion about it." Mr. Moneylove: "Indeed, we need no more discussion about this matter, for the one who believes neither Scripture nor reason, and you see that we have both on our side, neither knows his own liberty nor seeks his own safety." By-ends: "My brethren, as you know, we are all going on pilgrimage. Therefore, to divert our attention from base things, allow me to propound this question unto you. Suppose a man, a minister, or a tradesman, should have an opportunity before him to obtain the good things of this life, yet he cannot obtain them unless, in appearance at least, he becomes extraordinarily zealous in some points of religion which he had no interest in beforehand. May he not use such religion to attain his end and still be a righteous and honest man?" Mr. Moneylove: "I see the bottom of your question. With these gentlemen's permission, I will endeavor to give you an answer. Firstly, to speak to your question as it concerns a minister himself, suppose there is a minister, a worthy man, who had only a very small salary, but desires a greater and more lucrative income. He now has an opportunity of getting it, but only by being more studious, by preaching more frequently and zealously, and because the disposition of the people requires it, by altering some of his principles. For my part, I see no problem with a minister doing this, yes, and a great deal more besides, and still remain an honest man. I say this for the following reasons. First, it cannot be denied that his desire for a larger income is lawful, since it is put before him by providence. So then he may strive to obtain it without his conscience raising any questions. Secondly, his desire for a more lucrative income makes him more studious, a more zealous preacher, and so forth, thus making him a better man. Yes, it also makes him improve his natural abilities, which is according to the mind of God. Thirdly, as for his complying with the disposition of his people by altering some of his principles so that he may better serve them, this indicates, 1, that he is of a self-denying temperament, 2, that he is of a sweet and winning demeanor, 3, that he is more fit for the ministerial office, Finally, I conclude then that a minister who changes a small salary for a greater one should not, for so doing, be judged as a covetous person. Rather, since he has improved his abilities in industry, he should be counted as a worthy minister who had expanded his opportunities to do good. And now to the second part of your question, which concerns the tradesman you mentioned. Suppose such a one has but a poor shop, but by becoming religious, he may increase his market, get more and far better customers to his shop, and perhaps even get a rich wife. For my part, I see no problem why this may not be lawfully done. I say this for the following reasons. First, to become religious is a virtue, regardless of whatever reason he becomes so. Secondly, nor is it unlawful to get a rich wife or more customers to his shop. Lastly, the man who gets these by becoming religious gets that which is good from those who are good by becoming good himself. So then here is a good wife and good customers and good gain, and all these just by becoming religious, which is good. Therefore, to become religious, to get all these, is a good and profitable endeavor. Well, this answer made by Mr. Moneylove to Mr. By-End's question was highly applauded by them all. They therefore concluded that it was most wholesome, advantageous, and unable to be contradicted. Because Christian and Hopeful had opposed Mr. By-End's previously, they jointly agreed to challenge them with the same question as soon as they caught up with him, for they were still within sight. But they decided that old Mr. Hold the World, and not Mr. By-Ends, should propose the question to them, for they supposed that Christian and Hopeful's discussion with Mr. Hold the World would be less heated. So they called after Christian and Hopeful, and they stopped and stood still until the four men caught up with them. After a short greeting, Mr. Hold the World put forth the question to Christian and Hopeful, and asked them to answer it if they could. Christian: Even a babe in religion may answer 10,000 such questions. For if it is unlawful to follow Christ for mere loaves, then how much more abominable is it to attempt to make him and religion into an instrument to gain and enjoy the world? Nor do we find any other than heathen, hypocrites, devils, and sorcerers, who are of this opinion. First, the heathen are of this religion. For when Hamor and Shechem desired to obtain the daughter and the cattle of Jacob, they were told that there was no way for them to procure them but by becoming circumcised. So they reasoned, will not their livestock and their property all become ours? Therefore let us consent to their request. Jacob's daughter and his cattle were that which they sought to obtain, and their religion was the stalking horse they made use of in attempting to procure them. You may read the whole story in Genesis 34:20-23. Secondly, the hypocritical Pharisees were also of this religion. Long prayers were their pretense, but to get widows' houses was their intention, and greater damnation was their judgment from God. Thirdly, Judas the devil was also of this religion. He was religious for the money bag, that he might get gain, but he was lost, cast away, and became the very son of perdition. Fourthly, Simon the sorcerer was of this religion also, for he desired the power of the Holy Spirit so that he might make gain. His condemnation from Peter's mouth was suitable. May your money perish with you, because you thought you could purchase the gift of God with money. Fifthly, I am also mindful that the man who takes up religion for the world will also throw away religion for the world. For as surely as Judas contrived to obtain the world by becoming religious, so just as surely he also sold his master and religion for money. Therefore, to answer the question affirmatively, as you have done, and to accept such an answer as satisfactory, is both heathenish, hypocritical, and devilish, and your reward will be according to your works. Then they stood staring at each other, not knowing how to answer Christian, so there was a long silence among them. Therefore Mr. By-Ends and his friends began to lag behind so that Christian and Hopeful might travel on ahead of them. Hopeful approved of the soundness of Christian's answer. Then Christian said to his fellow traveler, if these men cannot stand before the sentence of men, then what will they do when they stand before the sentence of God? And if they are speechless when dealt with by vessels of clay, then how will they respond when they are rebuked by the flames of the devouring fire? Chapter 19. The Hill Lucre. Then Christian and Hopeful traveled on ahead of the others until they came to a pleasant meadow called Ease, where they journeyed with much delight. As the meadow was only a short length, they quickly traveled over it. Now at the farthest side of that meadow was a little hill called Lucre, and in that hill was a silver mine. Because this was so rare, some of those who had formerly gone that way had turned aside to see it, but going too near to the brink of the pit, and the ground being unstable under them, it broke away, and they were killed. Some others were so injured that they could not, to their dying day, be recovered. Then I saw in my dream that a little way off the road, near the silver mine, stood a gentleman named Demas. He called out to passing travelers to come and see. He beckoned to Christian and Hopeful. "Ho, turn aside here, and I will show you something quite special." Christian: "What is so deserving as to turn us out of the way to see it?" Demas: "Here is a silver mine, and some are digging in it for treasure. If you come, with a little effort, you may be richly rewarded." Then Hopeful responded, "Let us go and see." "Not I," Christian cautioned. "I have heard of this place before. Many have been destroyed there. And besides that, worldly treasure is a snare to those who seek it, for it hinders them in their pilgrimage." Then Christian called to Demas, "Is not the place dangerous? Has it not hindered many in their pilgrimage?" Demas: "It is not very dangerous, except to those who are careless." But he blushed as he spoke. Then Christian said to Hopeful, "Let us not turn a step out of the way, but still keep on our path." Hopeful: "I assure you that when By-ends arrives here, if he has the same invitation as we did, that he will turn aside and go to Hill Lucre." Christian: "No doubt about that, for his principles lead him that way, 100 to 1 that he dies there." Then Demas called again, saying, "Will you not even come over and look?" Then Christian firmly answered, "Demas, you are an enemy to the right ways of the Lord. You've been already condemned for your own turning aside. Why are you seeking to bring us into the same condemnation? Furthermore, if we turn aside at all, then our Lord the King will certainly hear of it, and rather than standing with boldness before him, we would instead be put to shame." Then Demas cried out that he was one of their kinsmen, and that if they would only tarry a little, he would also walk with them. Then Christian asked, "What is your name? Is it not Demas?" Demas: "Yes, my name is Demas. I am the son of Abraham." Christian: "I know you. Gehazi was your great-grandfather. Judas was your father, and you are treading in their steps. You are using a devilish prank. Your father was hanged as a traitor, and you deserve no better recompense. Assure yourself that when we come to the king, we will tell him of your behavior." Thus they continued on their way. By this time, By-ends and his companions had come within sight, and they, at the first beckoning, went over to Demas. Now, whether they fell into the pit by looking over its brink, or whether they went down to dig in the silver mine, or whether they were smothered in the bottom by the fumes which commonly arise, of these things I am not certain, yet this is observed, that they were never again seen in the way. Then Christian sang, "By-ends and silver Demas both agree. One calls, the other runs, that he may be a sharer in his lucre. So these do take up in this world and no further go." Now I saw that just on the other side of the plain that Pilgrim came to a place where an old monument stood near the side of the highway. Upon seeing it, they were both concerned because of the strangeness of its form, for it seemed to them as if it had been a woman transformed into the shape of a pillar. They therefore stood looking upon it, and for a time could not tell what they should make of it. At last Hopeful spotted an inscription in an unusual dialect written above the monument. But being no scholar, he called to Christian, who was more learned, to see if he could understand the meaning. So Christian came, and after examining the letters, he found its meaning to be, "Remember Lot's wife." After reading it to Hopeful, they both concluded that this was the pillar of salt which Lot's wife had been turned into, for her looking back with a covetous heart when she was fleeing Sodom for safety. This sudden and amazing sight prompted the following discourse. Christian: "Ah, my brother, this is a timely warning. It came providentially to us after Demas's invitation to come over to view the hill Lucre. Had we gone as he desired, and as you were first inclined to do, my brother, we ourselves would probably have been made like this woman, a spectacle to behold for those who come after." Hopeful: "I am sorry that I was so foolish, and am astonished that I am not now as Lot's wife, for what is the difference between her sin and mine? She only looked back, but I had desire to go and see. Let God's grace be adored, and let me be ashamed that such a thing should ever have been in my heart." Christian: "Let us take notice of what we have seen here for our help in times to come. This woman escaped one judgment, for she escaped the destruction of Sodom, yet she was destroyed by another judgment, as we see that she was turned into a pillar of salt." Hopeful: True, and she serves both as a warning and an example to us. She is a warning in that we should shun her sin or receive her judgment. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, along with the 250 men who perished in their sin, are also an example for others to beware. But above all, I am astonished at one thing, how Demas and his fellows can so confidently stand looking for that treasure which Lot's wife, just for looking behind her, was turned into a pillar of salt. For we do not read that she stepped 1 foot out of the way, more especially so, since the judgment which overtook her made her a monument within sight of where they are, for they cannot but see her if they would only lift up their eyes. Christian, it is a thing to be amazed at. It argues that their hearts have grown so hardened in this case, I cannot tell who to compare them to so aptly as to those who pick pockets in the presence of the judge, or would rob purses under the gallows. It is said of the men of Sodom that they were so exceedingly wicked and sinful before the Lord, that is, in his eyesight, and notwithstanding the kindness of which he had shown them, for the land of Sodom was like the Garden of Eden at that time. This, therefore, more provoked him, and made their punishment as hot as the fire of the Lord out of heaven could make it. It is most rationally to be concluded that those who shall sin in God's sight, although such examples are continually set before them to caution them to the contrary, must be partakers of the most severe judgments. Hopeful, doubtless you have spoken the truth. What a mercy it is that neither you, nor especially I, were made to be similar examples as that forsaken woman. This gives us an occasion to thank God, to fear him, and always to remember Lot's wife.